Hello and welcome to another episode of Vegan Proteins Muscles by Brussels Radio. My name's 𝐬𝐝𝐾𝐿.
And I'm Danny.
And this is our 31st episode. So it's been a little while since we put out a new episode.
It's been a long while.
How long?
Like too freaking long.
Yeah, way too long. But I mean, it's been for good reason. It's not always the case. Last year had many challenges, as I'm sure some of our listeners...
that was one of the last podcast episodes. It was like super depressing and downtrodden, and then we just disappeared. Like, we're okay, guys. We're not dead.
Yeah, seriously. I can only imagine what people must be thinking. Yeah, so this time around, we've basically been working on PlantBuilt, and many of you are probably very familiar with it, and I would imagine some, especially the newer listeners, may not be. So we figured, what better way to come back with our next episode than to have a full episode about exactly what we've been doing over the past 6 months or so.
Another thing I think about the podcast is, like, we really do want to keep these coming out regularly, and the thing is it's just, like, an enormous time suck to edit it. Right now, like, I wake up, I start working before I even get dressed. We go to the gym in the middle of the day, and then I come home and I keep working until I go to sleep, basically. And the podcast, just between the recording and the editing and the uploading, I mean, sometimes we're looking at like 6 hours to edit and upload this. So I think, these are just gonna... in order to keep them coming out in any sort of a reasonable fashion time-wise, we either need to hire somebody, which probably ain't going to happen anytime soon anyway, or I'm just going to have to not edit these so much. So I apologize if the quality of the podcast in terms of like audio and us stumbling and muttering and saying if that decreases, but hopefully the fact that you will be getting podcasts more frequently will at least partially make up for that, and you'll get to realize that we are actually bumbling idiots just like everybody else.
I was about to say I could get a little better about speaking like coherently instead of in sentence fragments and umming and muttering all the time, right? I mean, I could work on that, I suppose. Nah. That's what I got you for, to edit me and make people think that I sound good, right? Anyway. But I think another one of the reasons why we don't have an episode every 2 weeks like we initially intended upon is we don't want to just put out info for the sake of it. I mean, whatever we put out, we want to make sure it's a topic we really want to talk about too.
That we want to talk about, that people actually want to hear about. But I think part of this, like, when you work in this industry for a long time, there's a lot of stuff that we take for granted that, like, yeah, well, people already know this, so I'm not going to go talk about it. Like, they could find it literally anywhere. But, people do come to us looking for information, and if we haven't put it out there, I understand that other people don't necessarily know all of the things that we think may be obvious. So with that said, guys, if you want to hear these podcasts more frequently, like, you gotta throw ideas at us because we suck at coming up with these ideas. But, like, we could talk about literally anything. Like, if someone else were to start a conversation, we could talk about it all day long. But to just sit here and be like, oh, well, I think this week we should talk about blah, blah, blah. It's actually a lot harder than you would think. And, like, kudos to people who come up with new ideas every week for, like, podcasts and blogs and YouTube videos and all that shit, because I can't.
Yeah, seriously.
Anyway, let's move on from here.
Yeah, definitely. Now, aside from work and PlantBuilt, before we get into that, why don't we just, catch up with everybody and let them know what we've been up to. Training-wise, how about you, Danny?
Well, I think that the last time we did a podcast, I had already told people that I decided not to compete in bodybuilding this year. And it's because last year just sucked so much on so many fronts. It was just not the productive off season that I was hoping for it to be. And I'm not naive enough to believe that even though I took a year off from competing, that necessarily means that I made the appropriate type of gains that I was hoping to in order to come back and be a better competitor. And I don't want to diet down for 20 weeks and look like the exact same competitor I was last year. I want to be in this sport for a long time, and I want to keep getting better and better and better. And to diet and put my body through all that stress just to be almost identical to the way I was the year before, that seems stupid and like a waste of valuable building time. And also, I don't think that it speaks very well for veganism to not present your absolute best package on stage. Like, if you're going to go out there and be like, hell yeah, I'm vegan. Like, if you're going to compete in bodybuilding, you better be proud of that package you're bringing. Otherwise, it doesn't do much justice for veganism, because there's a lot of people just looking to poke holes in you, to be like, oh yeah, well, if that's what vegans look like on stage, count me out. So I take that very, very seriously personally. And I just always want to beat my former self, and I wasn't going to be able to. So since I made that decision, I actually began working with Alberto Nunez of 3DMJ, which was like a huge dream come true type of thing, because I love 3DMJ. They put out some of the best content in natural bodybuilding and powerlifting that there is, right? Period.
I would say so.
And you don't get to, if you sign up with 3DMJ, you don't get to pick your coach. Like, they just Giacomo's mad.
Yeah, I'm giving you a stink eye.
They like assign you a coach, and I was very, very lucky to be assigned Berto, and he has sort of like breathed some fresh life into not only my training, but also in my confidence in some of the bigger name trainers that exist out there. I've found from working with several pretty big names in the industry that there's a lot of coaches who are willing to take your money, but they don't really give a shit in a lot of ways. And I was just starting to think like the whole friggin' industry was like that. And it is like night and day. I feel so lucky to be having a coaching experience with somebody else that provides the same level of service that I feel like I give to my athletes as a coach.
Right, and he's been at it for a very long time, you know? I mean, he was on the bodybuilding.com forums when all this information was like breaking over a decade ago, and he's been coaching and he has a following.
But at any rate, he's not vegan. Nobody on the 3DMJ team is vegan, but he's been very supportive of me being vegan, and also like just as general natural bodybuilding, powerlifting content. They have a podcast. It's friggin' amazing. They have a YouTube channel. It's awesome. Like, I can't say enough good things about these guys. And yeah, if you haven't checked them out, check them out if this is the type of stuff that you're into.
Yeah, for sure. It's been very eye-opening and interesting watching our paths, because we compete. The last time we both stepped on stage, it was like literally the same exact competition season about 2 years ago. And our approach is exiting and correct me, this is just my thoughts about how it went down, but the two of us had somewhat different approaches, and I sort of followed
exit strategies.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Thank you. So the exit strategy that I took was like, I'm going into an extended off season. I took your advice. You know, I wanted to bring a different package. So I immediately said to myself that I'm not stepping on stage next year. I'm not stepping on stage in 2 years. I'm going to take a minimum of 3 years of just straight building, you know, while keeping a good amount of my conditioning too. So I'm in good striking distance. As far as your approach was concerned, I think it was a little more open-ended with your exit strategy. And it was interesting. It was just interesting to note that, because, and I think part of it had to do with the fact that your package was so close to being a package that could win an overall at many competitive shows. And I think in your mind, maybe you were thinking to yourself, like, I should go for this again, maybe next year or the year following, until I take a couple of years off and build. Yeah,
absolutely. Like, I knew I didn't need to bring a completely new package. Like, ugh, man, I've come in second for the overall, like, 3 times. 3 freaking times.
Yeah.
That sucks. Like, to be so close, in really competitive shows too, like you said, like big shows.
There was that one show, like the judges were deliberating for like 15 freaking minutes on the two. Like, who are we going to award? It was a toss-up.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There have been times where I've, gotten called out for the overall and I'm going against the short winner. Yeah. Like, I'm the tall winner and I'm going against the short winner, and it's just like, I congratulate them before we even go out. Like, all right, but you got this one, kid, because I know that they just swept the floor with me. But that show was particularly tough because it was so close. Like, it could have gone either way. I think her and I were really neck and neck. But anyway, the point was, I don't need to bring a completely different package. I needed to tweak a few things, grow a few things a little bit, like work on the depth of my back because the width of it is fine. Shoulders a little bit, and just hone in on the conditioning side of things, because conditioning is my weakness for sure. But the symmetry, the shape, that's all there. So I thought I could do it in a year, and maybe I could have, but it didn't happen. I wasn't physically or mentally in the right state to start prepping. And as hard as it was to make that call, I think it was like the most mature thing that I could have done.
I gotta say, I always have admired your decision-making process and the fact that you are constantly experimenting and ready at any given point in time to reverse gears and change and do what's needed to do to continue progressing as an athlete. And this particular off-season was not the exception. I mean, just watching you be able to shift your decision, if I recall correctly, you were pretty much on your way to getting into prep. I mean, it was like you were ready to pull the trigger within a week or two. Like, that's it. I'm going to start prepping and compete at PlantBuilt.
Yep. So that was shortly after I started working with Berto, and he knew that I wanted to compete in June. And we started working together in October, I think. And, he was ready. I was ready. And then, come the new year, I was just like, this is not the look I wanted. At the end of the off season, This is not what I wanted. I wasn't significantly stronger anywhere. And that was the big thing for me, is looking at a picture, looking at a video or at a mirror, it's subjective. Do I look better? Do I look worse? It's hard to tell, but I knew that my performance in the gym was not improving the way that it should have been. And, once I really sort of came to terms with that, if your performance isn't increasing in the gym, guess what? You're not building muscle. Sorry, it sucks, but it's true. And I wasn't. So I decided not to. We did a little bit of a mini cut. I could talk all about that. All of the trials and tribulations that happened during that mini cut, which once we did that, I realized I totally made the right call not prepping right now, because the way my body responded to dieting, even just for an 8-week period, was just F you, Danny. No, we will not lose fat. And I've never encountered that before in my life. And it was, I think it was incredibly related to the stress of just the last year. And I don't think people take into account, people a lot of times think they're going to prep and their life is going to get better. And, people turn to a prep in order to sort of deal with problems that have nothing to do with prep in their life. If I can just look this way, things will be better. And if you're in a stressed out, shitty situation to start with, you're not going to reach that physique that you're hoping for in the first place. It's not that kind of an outlet.
Yeah, for sure. And stress or no stress, ultimately, especially as the returns diminish, as you start training years and years consistently, you have to take the time off. There's just no possibility. You can't make gains when you're dieting down constantly, and your metabolism is just going to eventually start rejecting what you're trying to do if you're constantly dieting. And it's interesting to look at genetics and just how much they can vary. For you, it's you were saying your weakness is conditioning, but your strengths are size and symmetry. For me, it's the opposite. For me, conditioning is my strength, but size and symmetry, that's where I lack. And so anyway, that's been my approach this off season was I knew that I was not close enough to winning an overall to be able to compete year after year. So I was like, yeah, fuck it. You're right, Danny. Let's take those 3-4 years off. And that's what I did. But here's the thing with me. I have a very competitive spirit. I've taken 5-10 years off at a time from fitness, just work, whatever, life, stress. But ever since I was at a very young age, I've always been into the competitive aspect of sports, whether it was tennis, baseball, handball, what have you, a racquetball. Having to accept the fact that I want to be a one-sport athlete so I can do that one sport incredibly well. My biggest issue would be not competing. How would I satisfy my competitive spirit? And so I decided, let me embark on powerlifting, especially after my buddies Scott Shetler and Jason Morris were harassing me, telling me that bodybuilders aren't strong. I'm like, listen, we're going to have to squash that myth, that theory. Anyway, and I found powerlifting to be incredibly rewarding, and I think that when done properly and when you do enough accessory work, that it actually, you don't have to sacrifice your bodybuilding goals. And furthermore, like Danny was saying, it can be tough to see the changes in your physique when you're competing year after year, or even if you're not competing, when your body isn't changing as rapidly as it was when you get those newbie gains. But with powerlifting, the focus is taken off physique entirely. The focus is on strength. How much did you put on the bar today, and how much are you going to put on the bar tomorrow? And you just focus on getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And from a bodybuilding standpoint, you put the accessory work in, so you're continuing to, grow your body the way you want to in the process. And anyway, that's kind of where I've been at. But I feel like we've kind of...
I think we've covered that in episodes before.
Yeah, for sure.
So you just kind of been doing your thing since the last podcast.
Pretty much.
Which is cool, because you've been getting real strong.
Yeah, it's been fun, and we got some other stuff going on, but we could save that for another episode, what's happened in our personal life. I'm pretty excited, actually, to talk about PlantBuilt, because, we're 30 episodes plus deep right now, and we have not mentioned this project to you.
Well, we've mentioned PlantBuilt plenty of times, but we've never really gone into depth about what it is.
Exactly.
All right, so Giacomo, what's PlantBuilt?
PlantBuilt is something, it started off as an idea back in late 2012. And the idea actually birthed from an even earlier idea, but I'll get into that in a second. So basically, we used to live in Portland, Oregon. Mm-hmm. And so we got a lot of, our buddies out there. We were out there visiting with some of our vegan fitness friends. And we went out for pizza. And we started, just chatting away. It wasn't like a business meeting or anything, I guess is my point. And we started talking about how cool it would be if we can, I think someone, maybe it was Ed or somebody, was talking about like having a vegan directory online with coaches and trainers. And then we started to take these ideas and be like...
That was Jason.
It was Jason.
That was Jason.
Gotcha.
Jason Morris, yeah.
Okay. So Jason was talking about a directory, and then we started saying, well, wait a minute, remember when Robert Sheik was getting together a couple athletes at a time, to compete on stage? And we're like, yeah, that was awesome. I was like, what if we sort of tried to continue that, carry the torch, if you will, especially now with we're so much more connected, because back in the day, social media wasn't really a thing. And now there's so many more vegans out there putting themselves out there competing. So long story short, we hit up all of our friends and we're like, hey, bodybuilders. It was bodybuilder specific at the time, our first year in. And we said, why don't we compete together, at the same place at the same time? So we looked around and we found the Naturally Fit, I don't think it was called the Games at the time, but the Naturally Fit Super Show, right?
No, it was called the Games.
It was.
And now it's the Super Show.
Gotcha. Okay. So the Naturally Fit Games in 2013, there was 14 of us. And we went out there and we did our thing and we competed. And surprisingly enough, every single one of us placed.
Every single person took home a trophy.
Yeah, it was amazing. And we knew it was a pretty special idea and we were really excited about it. But we had no idea just how much it was going to blow up. You know what I mean? You never really know until you put yourself out there. And I distinctly remember creating like a Facebook fan page right around the time we competed, and it went from like 0 to 3,000 almost overnight. It was crazy.
Yeah, good luck getting people to like your fan page now.
Seriously.
Algorithms.
Yeah. But anyway, my point is that it was an idea that took off and the community was riding behind it, and we were like, all right, we got to keep doing this thing. So that was our first year. It was
like, first of all, I would like to point out that the first year that we did PlantBuilt was literally like the most magical thing that had ever happened. Like, it was just 14 of us, but it was like, holy shit, like 14 vegans like that are this into fitness. And it was like everybody that showed up like brought it too. Everybody brought it. And it was just like, I always liken it to that what's the band? The 90s video? All I can say is my life is pretty strange.
That's what you're talking about. Blind Melon?
Yes, Blind Melon, with the little girl
Bumblebees.
That's a bumblebee, and she's looking around for all her, like, to feel fit, like she fits in, and at the end she finds all her bumblebee people. Like, I felt like I had found my bumblebee people, and it was it was so fantastic. And we knew that we had created something really special, so we decided to keep going with it. And the next year we decided we were going to add CrossFit and powerlifting, because those are also sports where, being vegan is kind of like frowned upon or almost looked at as an oxymoron because they're strength-based sports. So we actually had people apply to be on PlantBuilt, and that was a nightmare. I won't even get into that, but we did not expect to have many applicants, and we had so many applicants that we had to vote. We had the 14 people from the year prior, we got to vote on these people because we can only fill so many spots because it was just 𝐬𝐲𝐭 and I running it. And it's not an easy thing to run at all because it's not just like a free-for-all. It's a very organized event. And we ended up increasing the team to how many people?
The second time around, I feel like it was almost double the size, maybe 25, 30 of us.
Yeah, I would say it was 30 of us. Yeah, and that was 2014.
No. Yes.
That was 2014. And again, we came out and everybody did so amazingly. That was also actually I would say that was the coolest year so far.
Yeah.
So far, that's been the coolest year.
And another hallmark about that year, it was the first time that we had decided as an organization to raise funds. And we raised the funds not only for our own vegan outreach within PlantBuilt, but for a vegan outreach organization outside of us.
And this came from so many people emailing us being like, wow, what you guys are doing is so inspiring and spreading the message about veganism so much. How can I help? And we got so many messages like that that we decided to start a fundraiser to raise funds to make these meetups possible, raise funds so that we could do our own outreach to other, farm sanctuaries, other vegan outreach groups doing outreach in different kinds of ways, and then also to create things to give back to people who wanted to support PlantBuilt but couldn't necessarily be on the team, so that they could have their own PlantBuilt gear to walk around and represent this PlantBuilt lifestyle.
Exactly. And even that year alone, we were able to donate out around $8,000 to 3 farm sanctuaries.
$12,000 to 3 farm sanctuaries and the Our Hen House podcast, which is another vegan podcast. That's their way of outreach.
So incredibly rewarding. Especially when it became a reality after the fundraiser. And then, of course, when we did it the third time around in 2015,
that's when we went international.
Yes. And we decided, let's keep this fundraising thing going. As much work as it was, which it was, and is, we decided that it was just too much of a special thing to not continue doing. And yes, Danny, we went international.
Because there were people reaching out to us now that were not just in the United States. This wasn't like little Miss Bikini Bottom in Indiana that wanted to be on PlantBuilt. This was people reaching out to us from Australia, Germany, New Zealand, Canada. We were getting messages and some messages that we couldn't even respond to because we couldn't translate them. But messages from people all over the place, hey, check out what I'm doing. I'm this badass vegan athlete too. And we'd look at them and be like, holy shit, they are a pretty badass vegan athlete. Actually, it'd be cool to have them come out here.
Yeah. And at that point, after the last year when we were taking applications, we decided that we had to
we can't.
No.
It was too heartbreaking to say yes to some people and no to other people because we really wanted everybody.
Yeah.
But we can't. We can't manage it. We grew faster than we could keep up with.
Exactly. I think the word I'm looking for is prospecting. We had to just keep our eyes peeled to the social medias and see who was putting themselves out there and, just sort of pick and choose as best as we possibly could. The other thing that we would do is as we would expand the size of our team, we would expand the sports that, once again, that we competed in. So last time around, we added kettlebell. And that became an easy decision as far as who we added. What we wanted to do was try to even out the numbers per team. We started off as
very bodybuilding heavy.
Only bodybuilding. And let's face it, the bodybuilders, they love putting themselves out there. Guilty as charged. So, there's a platform, veganbodybuilding.com, because of Robert, it's existed far before any other vegan sport, strength sport was out there. So there was just tons. The pool was like unlimited, basically. But the other sports, it was a little harder to come by. And I think that's changing now. And I'd like to think that in some small part, PlantBuilt is playing a role in that.
I would say that it is. So 2015, we brought athletes from Australia, New Zealand, Germany, and part of the fundraiser helped to cover their costs to get out here because they had way more expenses to get over here than the people who lived in driving or even just flying distance within the States. So it helped to bring a whole different light to the competition that we brought to the Naturally Fit Games. And I should explain, because a lot of people don't understand this. I've gotten this question a lot, so I guess I should clarify. This is not a vegan competition. We don't go out and, like, a lot of people think this is a vegan bodybuilding show, and it's not. The whole point is that we take our team and we go compete in these events with all these other people, most of whom are not vegan. The first year, we only made up 10% of the competition. And to date, I think we make up even less than that now.
Right, because the show's grown so much. There's around 1,000 competitors, roughly.
Yeah, and there's like 50 of us. So, so we make up a very small amount, but that's the point, is that like when we first come in the venue, and it's a huge venue, we come in the venue, we have our Vegan Muscle Team hoodies on, and when we walk in, everybody starts to like snicker at us because we're this big group of people with vegan hoodies on. Like, I'd probably snicker at us too if I saw us. In the morning, we walk in, they're laughing at us and like whispering about us and blah, blah, blah. And then at the end of the day, as we collect all of our trophies and medals and awards to, you know, haul out for the evening, by then we've turned a lot of heads and we have a lot of people saying, oh, well, tell me more. Tell me more about this vegan thing you're doing, because obviously you guys aren't hurting at all. And that's the point of what we do. This is not to see who is the best vegan athlete. Like, maybe someday there will be enough of us that kind of a competition will exist. But we go to a massive show full of other people and compete in various sports against non-vegans. And, most of the people who come out to these shows, they're decent athletes. So it's definitely a fair playing field. And these are all natural events. This is critical. Guys, PlantBuilt is not on drugs, okay?
Who said that?
It happens all the time online. Someone will share pictures of PlantBuilt and someone will be like, are steroids vegan? And it's like, oh, Jesus. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there are vegans that are on steroids. Without question, I'm sure there are some vegans that are taking drugs and performance-enhancing drugs. But we compete in tested federations only. It is called the Naturally Fit Super Show. We are polygraphed and we are urinalysis if we win. So, yes, PlantBuilt, we're natural athletes.
Thanks for clarifying.
Not a problem.
And I think the cool part about that last time we got together in 2015 was not only were we well received within the audience, like the spectators and whatnot, but the organization itself, every single year, they've continued to work closer and closer with us, and we've gained the respect of the organizers of the show, and they're so freaking supportive of what we're doing. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we have a lot of integrity with what we do. I mean, we're not looking to go out there and to act like a bunch of jerks and to, like do some like name calling and just be like loudmouth. And all we do is we go out, we wear our signage, and quietly we just lead by example and try to perform as best as we possibly can. And I think it really matters as far as the way that you hold yourself in the competitive arena.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. You have to show up and compete and perform with dignity and class and humility.
Yes.
And we're very, very careful about the way that we conduct ourselves because we never want to come off as like the vegan douchebag crew.
Right. On and off the platform or stage or wherever your competition lies. But this was like the last time around. This was going on year after year, 3 years in a row that we did this. And we, our team was just blowing up. I mean, that time around, we were almost 40 of us.
Yeah.
And it's like how much bigger the goal was to continue to get bigger and to continue to add more sports, more athletes from more places. But it's like, how can you keep doing that?
Yeah. And I mean, again, it's just 𝐶𝐿 and myself running it. And we do have some volunteers on the team who are like absolute godsends to us. But it's just the two of us. It's a nonprofit that's in our name. So we have to be very, very careful with the way these things are done, because God forbid anything go wrong. This will come back to bite us in the ass. And, there's a lot of responsibility that comes with running a nonprofit of this size, that's like creating apparel and sending it out to people and donating money from our nonprofit to other nonprofits. Like, guys, this is a lot of paperwork. That's all I'm saying. And, we cannot grow faster than 𝐬𝐿𝐫𝐞 and I can keep up with. And there's no money in this. So we have to do this and also maintain our income outside of PlantBuilt, because we take in a lot of money in through the fundraiser, but I mean that's gone almost as quickly as it comes in, between creating the perks for people, making the event itself happen in Texas, and then donating anything else we get back out. So there's no paycheck. So we definitely, we have to make sure that we can keep doing it and growing at a rate that we can keep up with while we still, do our jobs as well. So.
Exactly. And so we had decided back in 2015 that going forward, we would continue onward with this mission, but instead of doing it annually, we would start doing it biannually. So we have not gotten together since 2015, but fast forward to today, and we're like, what now, 5 weeks out from
5
competing?
weeks out.
It's crazy. I can't even believe it. And, if you do something a couple of years in a row, and it's like you take for granted the experience, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's sort of exciting to see this happening again.
Yes.
This year, of course, we in continuing with the spirit, we're adding more international athletes to the team.
And another team. Olympic weightlifting.
Thank you.
No problem.
It's like just one big mess sometimes. But
yeah, we're going to have a really cool Olympic weightlifting team, actually. I'm pretty excited. I know absolutely nothing about Olympic weightlifting. Yeah. Like, hey, I can front squat. Like, that's what I got. So it's really cool to watch. This is literally people just throwing around massive amounts of weight. It's pretty impressive to look at.
I would say so. Scary, and also impressive.
Yeah.
I'm definitely enamored by the sport. It's highly technical, I would say. Mm-hmm. It stands out amongst other barbell specific sports, I would say, in just how much time you need to apply to technique in and of itself, as opposed to strength, endurance, or power. Mm-hmm. So I'm very excited for the Olympic weightlifting team. I'm very excited for the fact that we've branched out now to Asia, thanks in large part to Luke Tan from Evolved. He moved out to Singapore, Luke and Emily, I should say. And congrats on becoming parents.
Baby.
Yeah, baby Sienna. Woo! Mm-hmm. You got to get her a little PlantBuilt shirt, right?
Yeah.
Anyhow, so we have athletes from Singapore now. Anastasia joined us from...
She's from Germany, but lives in the UK a lot of the time, but right now she's in like Costa Rica or something.
I don't even know.
Anyway, she's amazing. We've had her on the show before. Anastasia,
yes, we have.
She's a badass. She's a very, very intelligent, strong, badass vegan athlete.
Yeah. So anyway, and also in keeping with the spirit, we've decided to once again fundraise. Mm-hmm. And our fundraiser launched about a week ago, right? Mm-hmm. And it's pretty exciting. It's so far so good. It looks like it's being well received.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Mm-hmm. And I guess we want to, tell you a little bit about that. And should you feel compelled to check it out, we can, include a link in the description of this podcast for you to find it. Because it's only going to, we're only doing this till what, May 15th, I think? Yeah, May 15th would be the last day of the fundraiser. So I guess let's tell you a little bit about this year's team and kind of how, where the funds go. So as of now, we are competing in bodybuilding, CrossFit, Olympic weightlifting, powerlifting, and kettlebell sport. We're about evened out with the number of athletes on every single team, which is pretty awesome. So all in all, there's about 45 of us right now. And, I know Danny mentioned that in addition to the money we donate out, in addition to the perks, like the apparel that we make available to the public so we can all promote the message together, there are funds that need to be applied to the event itself to make it successful. And I sort of wanted to explain a little bit about how that works. So with a group this large, it's a really special gathering and get together. And what we do is we try to get professional media
to document it.
To document it.
Because that is how we spread more messages. Like the videos of the whole team together are very impactful for a lot of people to watch. So we try to have professional videographers, professional photographers out there to document us trying to kick some ass in a way to show other people what is possible as a vegan athlete.
Exactly. And we also do help subsidize some of the costs for international athletes to fly out here, because let's face it, an international flight is pretty pricey. But the way that we see it is that, there's only so much connecting that can be done on social media. And call us old school, but I feel like there's no substitute for face-to-face connection. And to have so many different athletes from all over the world, from various sports, connect in person, I think something special happens out of that. And when we go back to our respective countries and we're still together online, eventually more and more awesome things get created as a result. So it may seem a little exorbitant when we say, hey, well, we need these international athletes, because it's like, well, a vegan athlete is a vegan athlete. Why don't just get the ones from the States? But it's like, no, we feel very strongly about connecting the community on a global level, but to do it locally and in person and to perform together. I don't think there's any substitute for it or anything else out there like it right now. And so it's such an important mission. So if you feel compelled to check that out, do take a look at our fundraiser, and it'll give you a better idea of exactly what we're doing and what we're all about.
And I mean, there are other expenses at the meetup itself. I mean, a group of 45 people, plus, a lot of people have a companion that they brought with them on this trip. It's a large group of people that we need to move from point A to point B to point C, all on a certain schedule. Lots of meetings happen at that time. We have to have vans that will drive us all around, buses even, and those definitely come with expenses as well. I will say that the athletes cover the vast majority of their own costs. Like, a lot of people sometimes think this fundraiser covers, the athletes' flights or the athletes' hotel or the athletes' registration fees. And the athletes, with the exception of the international athletes' flights only, which we pay for a portion of, everybody else covers all their own stuff, all their own registration, their own lodging, their own everything, basically. So, every single athlete on the team is paying out of pocket quite a large amount of money to be there. The fundraising money that goes towards the event itself is for things like the PlantBuilt booth that we set up at the Naturally Fit show. So we have to pay to have a booth there, but that booth becomes a hub for people who happen to see us at the show, want to know more about what the heck it is we do. So they come up and they say, what is with all these vegan shirts I'm seeing everywhere? And there's people behind the booth to sort of, inform people about what it is we're doing, where they can learn more. What are some of the other things?
At the event itself?
Yeah.
Well, we have gatherings as a group, at the
gyms that we have to train at. We have to pay for those gyms that we're training at. And a lot of times we do our photo shoots there. So there are a lot of small costs that you don't think of until you're actually there. But after doing it for the first year, we, realized how much this actually costs in actuality. And hence the fundraising.
Right. And then, of course, we're going to be donating funds outward. Again, this year, the vegan outreach group that we chose was Mercy for Animals.
Yep. And we chose...
Animal sanctuaries.
2 animal sanctuaries. Poplar Springs, which is in Maryland. And the other one is Earth Sanctuary in Illinois. And these, we always try to find sanctuaries that... one, are in line with our vegan ethics, because there are a lot of animal sanctuaries out there that are not necessarily like vegan focused. A lot of times it's like rescued domestic animals, for example. Those are technically animal sanctuaries, but they, aren't usually in line with our vegan ethics. So we try to find farm sanctuaries that are in line with our vegan ethics and also are small enough that our donation will actually help them significantly.
Precisely.
Like, we love Farm Sanctuary, we love Woodstock Sanctuary in New York, but, donating $3,000 to one of those sanctuaries isn't going to make nearly the difference that donating $3,000 to a much smaller sanctuary would. That can make or break a small farm sanctuary, whereas the larger ones, they absolutely need funds. Please keep donating to them. But it's not quite the same.
Right, exactly, because it's coming from one donor. But I mean, they're large farm sanctuaries for a reason, because they have lots of animals, and that requires lots of land and upkeep. And without the collective donating to them, they would also be in trouble. So yeah, by no stretch of the imagination is a small farm sanctuary more important than a large one. It's just that we're donating.
It's just that without donations to a smaller farm sanctuary, they could fail in the first year.
Yes.
So,
and anyway, so I guess I wanted to talk a little bit about what exactly we give back to those who donate. And I guess I'll just pull up the fundraiser myself over here so I can take a look at it.
So I guess it's no surprise that there's a huge markup on apparel in general. I can use us as an example. For us to make a t-shirt on American-made t-shirts, and to buy the t-shirt and get it printed on costs
around $11.
Okay, and most t-shirt companies will sell that for
$25, $30.
$25 or $30, which is fair. There's a lot of work that goes into it. Absolutely. But with the fundraiser, there is no profit. Whatever would be called profit is what we are taking and dispersing to the things that we just talked about. So because of that, you actually get some pretty cool stuff for less than it would cost you to buy each piece individually.
Yeah, and since we're talking about the apparel, it's more than just the fact that there is no profit involved, that it's all donation. It's the fact that we Motive Clothing Company, run by Linwood, he does this all for us at a very competitive price because he knows that the funds are going to a good cause.
Yeah, Linwood is great. He's a vegan. His wife, Sarah Preston, she's actually on the PlantBuilt team, on the powerlifting team. She used to own a vegan bakery called X's and O's. You guys might have heard of her. And Linwood runs Motive Clothing Company, so he prints on clothing. And he gives us an enormous discount because he's vegan, because he's in the movement. So we're able to do one better with the stuff that we're able to give back to the community here.
Yeah, and thank you, Linwood. The guy works his ass off for like a week straight with others helping out, and it's like pretty much he's doing all the work pro bono.
Yeah,
I would say for the most part.
He's probably just covering his costs.
I would think so.
Mm-hmm. So we have the shirt, we have the hoodie. This is our third fundraiser, and every time we do the fundraiser, we try to come up with a new design. This year, the feedback was like, I want something that's like simple and straightforward in terms of the design on it. So this year, the design it just says build strength, eat plants. And it's pretty straightforward. It'll definitely get some attention. And of course, it has Team PlantBuilt on the back. And we offered this last year at the $200 level, but we decided this year to offer it at the $100 level because it's really cool. It is a PlantBuilt gym bag, and it's a decent size. I would say it's like a medium-sized duffel bag. It's not one of the really small ones, but it's not the huge one either. It's like a medium size. It's got lots of pockets in it, and it just says PlantBuilt Vegan Muscle Team on it. So that's a really cool way to represent as well.
Yep. And then in addition to that, all of us as a team, we want to share with you our the way that we train and the way that we eat and the type of music that we enjoy listening to that hype us up and keep us motivated at the gym. So what we do is we all submit a recipe, we all submit our favorite workout, and we submit our favorite song. And by doing this, we're able to create a motivational mix that will be available for download for those who contribute at the $100 level, in addition to everything else, as well as an ebook with recipes and an ebook with workouts from every single team member that is competing this year. And then we have a For the Animal sticker, which was the print on the back of the shirts from 2015.
It's so cool. Simone Collins designed it. It says For the Animals, and it's like written in gym equipment. It's just like a really, really cool logo.
Yeah, I was pretty excited that the team came up with it last time around. I didn't have the heart to like not include it. Someone like, can we just like do this again? Because like love this design.
Yeah, but we figure everybody has a PlantBuilt sticker at this point, so we wanted to give a new sticker this year.
I would say so. And then finally, Jeff Palmer from Clean Machine came through big time this year. He's actually PlantBuilt's
number one sponsor.
Yes. Well, his brand is Clean Machine. Clean Machine is just, I have seen Jeff over the past couple of years just dedicate his entire life to engaging with the community and fostering more community within the vegan world and bringing so many more people in with his brand and with his heart, really putting himself out there, just speaking engagements, educating, pioneering and researching and finding the best possible supplements, the cutting edge ones, and putting them out on the market. And I'm just like beside myself with everything that Jeff has done. And we've been so blessed to be able to work with him closely with our store, with Vegan Proteins. And now with PlantBuilt. And the cool thing about Jeff is, I mean, even though he wasn't the title sponsor in previous years, he still contributed and donated a lot to other fundraisers. You know, like he was offering things with every single donation to our fundraiser in
like
2015.
since year one, right? Since year one.
Yeah, just about.
Not to mention, Jeff is, I'm not going to get his actual age right, but I know he's competed in Masters before, so he's definitely over 40. And he's been vegan for like over 30 years. He's been vegan for like since before it was like called vegan by most people. When he went vegan, he didn't even have a word for it at the time. Yeah, he's just very impressive. Very impressive athlete, very impressive as a supplement creator as well. He's got a lot of integrity in the stuff that he puts out, and I admire that a lot because most supplement companies don't have that kind of integrity.
Yep, and speaking of his supplements, he's got a brand new protein powder that's not even on the market yet. It's going to launch, I think, in July maybe, or somewhere along those lines. But he's offered to include Clean Machine protein, which is sourced from lentein, which we can tell you a little bit about. We don't know too much about it yet. We haven't even tried it.
It's from lupini beans.
Yes.
It's a protein powder made from lupini beans, which is completely brand. You know, I've tried a lot of different protein powders. Never heard of lupini bean protein powder, which he's calling lentein. Apparently, it has a better amino acid profile than soy or lentils. So really, really excited to see this when it comes out. I think it's gonna be a game changer in plant-based proteins. So we'll see how that goes. But you guys are gonna be some of the first people to try it if you donate to this fundraiser. So I think it's just gonna be in vanilla, right?
I believe so. And the cool thing about it is not only will it have the best amino acid profile of any protein powder on the market, it's also considered a superfood from my understanding. So it's rich in vitamins and minerals too.
Yeah, that is interesting because most protein powders are, they're very high in protein, but they're not particularly high in vitamins. So
yeah. So anyway, every single person that donates $100 or more from now through May 15th will also get a month's supply of Clean Machine protein. And just so everybody knows, it's written on the site, but these perks are something that we get together after the fundraiser is over and after the event. But we're going to be doing that pretty quickly, and by October, we should be shipping everything out to everyone.
My goal is to have everything out before that. So last time around when this happened, we were moving at the same time, so things went out a little bit slower. But this year, that is not going to happen this year.
Yeah.
Also, let's talk about what people get if they donate the week that this podcast comes out. So after the fundraiser launched, we had a few people come to us and say, hey, I would like to give stuff to people as incentives to donate as well, but I can't give X. I cannot give enough stuff to support the whole fundraiser. So we said, oh, all right, well, what if we offer this just for this 1 week? Like, do you think that would be okay? And people are like, yes. So you've probably already seen that Holly from Fit Quick offered one-time run of a Snickerdoodle Fit Quick last week during the fundraiser. But this week we have 𝐬𝐫𝐸 protein bars. And we've talked about 𝐬𝐫𝐸 on this podcast before. 𝐬𝐫𝐸 is a plant-based performance supplement company created and run by two PlantBuilt athletes, Paul and Jillian Salomon. And we have their protein powder. It's absolutely delicious, but they are coming out with protein bars that are not even out yet. We haven't even tried them yet, but I know I know Jill and Paul's tastes, so I'm pretty sure this is going to be very tasty, or they wouldn't release it. But they are donating 3 𝐬𝐫𝐸 protein bars to every person who donates this week. And what's the date? Because people are going to listen to this at all different times. Tell me the dates.
It's going to start on Monday.
So from
May 1st.
So from May 1st to May 7th?
Yes.
So anybody who donates between May 1st and May 7th, they're going to get 3 of these 𝐬𝐫𝐸 protein bars. And also Luke Tan, he is another PlantBuilt team member. He wrote a book called Awake and Alive, and he's donating this ebook to people who donate this week too. And Luke has an incredibly motivating and inspiring story that he's put to paper. And it is definitely worth the read. It's about, how going plant-based basically turned his entire life around and saved his life from some pretty dark places. So we're also putting in a 1 ounce bag, so like a small size bag of Proteins protein chips, which if you haven't tried those yet, you're seriously missing out, because they're like crack. They're delicious chips that are almost entirely protein and they taste like cheesy Doritos, if you remember what those taste like. So we definitely have some cool extras this week that we're giving out with the fundraiser. So if you haven't checked it out, I definitely recommend that you check it out. Even, if you're not in a position to donate, even if you can just share it with people so that perhaps other people maybe who haven't even heard of it could check it out, that would be cool. But if you are in a position to donate, the $100 level gets you about $250 worth of stuff, and it helps our cause, and it helps farm sanctuaries and vegan outreach groups. So definitely check it out. The website, I'll include it in the show notes, obviously, but if you just want to type it in, it's probably easier. It's bit.ly/PlantBuilt2017, all one word.
We figured that during our Q&A segment of this episode that we would, hop on live over here and see if you had any questions for us, and we'll answer them on the podcast. And I'll obviously get your answer right now before the podcast even comes out. If there's, any questions for us at all about bodybuilding, fitness, nutrition, whatever it is, feel free to comment right now, and we'll pick your questions out and we will answer them. But while you're thinking about that, I actually have a question for you that I got via email, Danny. And so why don't we do that one right now? And if you see any questions, let me know.
So yeah, we've already recorded the bulk of the podcast. So this is like our question and answer segment that we do at the end. So we have 1 question right now. We usually do 3. So if we get 2 other good questions right now, we'll answer them here and they'll be on the podcast. So, all right. Do you want to answer this one, or do you want me to answer?
It was directed towards you, so I'll ask this question to you, and you keep an eye out to see if anyone has questions for us.
On the spot.
On
right,
IG.
go ahead.
Cool. I'm going to try to shorten this one up a little bit. Greetings, Danny. My name is Katara, and I purchased your ebook and have been working to hit my macros for body recomp. I'm familiar with macros and have always struggled with the protein portion being plant-based, because so much of our protein is also carb-heavy. I've worked with trainers in the past who are not plant-based, and they struggled to help me out. Having on plans that caused me to lose weight, but I also lost muscle mass. And then she goes on basically to say that, she wants to try to figure out how to keep her protein up while she's dieting without the use of faux meat or protein shakes. Or I guess she's asking if it's necessary.
So, Katara, you do not eat a lot of faux meat, but you started to reach your protein goals. It's left you gassy with heartburn and uncomfortable. while getting very close to your protein macros on the first day, I was way over in carbs. Okay, so basically, this is a very like long-winded way of saying that Kitara is having a hard time hitting her protein goals as a vegan without going way over on her carbs. And this is what I find to be really common for people when they first start tracking their macros as a vegan. I should talk into the microphone because that's how the podcast works.
I would say so.
So this is really common for people when they first go vegan because as vegans, we're told constantly that beans are an excellent source of protein and peanut butter is an excellent source of protein. Well, they're good sources of protein, but they are not excellent sources of protein because they're so much higher in other macronutrients. So when you're trying to hit a certain ratio or amount of proteins versus carbs and fats, you kind of have to rethink these things a little bit. And of course, this is going to vary so much depending on whether you're trying to gain weight or lose weight, build muscle or lose fat. Somebody trying to build muscle is going to have a way easier time reaching their protein goals because they're going to have so many more grams of carbohydrates and fats to play with that they don't have to think about this too hard. On the opposite end, Kitara seems like she's trying to lose weight, which makes it a little bit tougher because your carbs and fats are a bit lower. She says she doesn't eat faux meat, but she started to hit her protein goals. So the first thing that I would ask, and I don't think that it is listed here, is how much protein she's trying to eat. It's hard to say, but I would say that if before you started going down this path, if you were only eating 40 grams of protein a day and now you're trying to eat 150 grams, it makes sense that you're going to feel gassy and uncomfortable and bloated and all that fun stuff because that's a huge jump. Even if like a higher number is the end goal, I would definitely start somewhere lower. If you're eating 40 grams on average per day, try starting with 80. And you'll definitely have less discomfort that way. But eventually, you're definitely going to want to, keep moving in the direction towards your goals, but do it slowly. If you try to do it overnight, it's going to be... Protein is the most expensive macronutrient for the body to digest. So your body does a lot of work to digest it. So if you go ahead and triple that number overnight, you're going to have a bad case of the vegan farts for sure. But in order to reach those goals without going over your carbohydrates or fat, let's say you've inched it up and you're finally reaching the top end of where you want to go, foods that are outstanding for reaching your higher protein goals. Seitan is my number one food that I recommend for people. If you are not celiac and you have protein goals and you want to hit them, try eating seitan. I've found a lot of people who think seitan bothers their stomach. Once they make it at home, it doesn't. And I don't know if that has to do with all the sodium that's added to the kinds that we get in the store or what, but it's very easy, very inexpensive to make at home. I have my clients making a recipe that has 21 grams of protein, 5 grams of carbs, half a gram of fat. And I have people eating that all the way through their prep. Also, tofu, if you have particularly low carbs, but you have some fat to play with, tofu is great because it's very low carb, moderate fat, higher protein. So somebody right here on the live IG stream is asking, they are celiac, is there an alternative to seitan? If you are celiac, there's not really an alternative to seitan specifically because that is wheat gluten. That is all seitan is wheat gluten. But tofu is fantastic as a protein source. Outside of that, mock meats have come a long way in the past 10 years. Like it used to be Boca burgers only. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Boca
Hockey
burgers.
pucks.
Yeah, that was it. Listen, I still respect the Boca burger. But
No shame in that hockey puck. I like them.
But if you're looking for other things, Eve's Canadian bacon, fantastic. Beyond Meat is absolutely fantastic and very high in protein, low fat, low-ish carbohydrates. I eat that all the way through prep as well. And then there's always protein powders. So there used to just be soy protein powder. And now there's so many vegan protein powders. It's crazy. We just happen to have one here. And this is the Elevate protein powder in vanilla. This one is made out of pea protein, hemp protein, and 𝐾𝐨𝐧'𝐭 protein. And that's really, really a super easy way to just add 20 to 25 grams of protein to a meal without even thinking about it. So there's a lot of ways to do it. And then I also like to think about adding what I call protein extras. So foods that are not necessarily protein foods, like a tofu, like seitan, but they're like other types of food that just happen to be high in protein. This is where we're looking at your beans, your quinoa, your peanut butter, your nutritional yeast. These are extra ways to get protein in without necessarily just eating a protein food. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, you'd be surprised just how much protein you can get in just by sprinkling nooch on all your vegetables. And speaking of which, I know it sounds crazy, but don't neglect your dark green leafy vegetables as far as being a protein. I mean, if you have, 5 to 10 cups worth of dark green veggies, I mean, you're going to up your protein by like 20, 25 grams, maybe even more. So, before you toss and turn, you can have up to 75 grams of protein just from the protein in the foods that you're eating every day that are not even protein dense. And then you can sprinkle in the protein dense stuff as needed, depending on how many calories you're working with. I saw some familiar faces come in. So before we get to Laura Dale's question, let's see, I saw Julianne, Sarah, and Dame. Any one of the above. If you have any questions to ask us, let us know. But why don't you ask Laura Dale's question to me, and I have an answer for this.
All right. So we have a question from Laura. And she says, sometimes I plan my macros poorly and end up with 20 grams of fat left for dinner. Is it okay to hit that fat goal with earth balance or oil all in one meal?
Yeah, and actually...
𝐾𝐿 can take this one.
And I want to take this one because this time around, in my off season, I've kept my fat a little on the higher side when comparing fats and carbs. And at first it was I was having this issue, but I've grown to really enjoy it. And actually, it's not a bad thing to be left with a lot of fat at the end of the day, because fat slows down digestion. So if you have a nice portion of fat, like the 20 grams worth that you're saying that you accidentally wind up with for dinner. I mean, I know that might be maybe half your fat for the day or whatever it is, and so that's why you're saying you're planning your macros poorly. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with getting a nice dose of fat in at the end of the day, because you're probably going to wake up feeling a little more full than you would had you not had a lot of fat for dinner. And actually with my clients, I intentionally program a little more fat in their dinner and or dessert for that very reason, because I don't want them to wake up hungry. You wake up hungry, you're setting yourself up for a hard day. So that's why I like fat at the end of the day. As far as what your choice is, yeah, I mean, earth balance is a super simple way to up the fat in any given meal. And if you have a lot to get in, yeah, there's nothing wrong with earth balance. But I guess it depends on you. I mean, if you're feeling hungry, I would probably advise against having a hydrogenated oil, because it's not really going to fill up your stomach.
But if that's all the macros she has...
Yeah, put it on your bread, put it on your vegetables, put it on anything.
I'll give you my suggestion, Laura. Peanut butter. I know it has a little bit of carbs, and I know that it has a amount of protein, but I would rather somebody go over a little bit on their protein and still hit their fat, because protein, again, it's really expensive for the body to digest. It's unlikely that going over on your protein is actually going to cause you to gain unwanted weight the same way going over on your fats or your carbohydrates would. So if you're sitting there choosing between eating a little bowl of earth balance or a little bowl of peanut butter, I vote peanut butter all the way. Also, if you're really wanting to stay close to your macros and not go over on anything at all, I will suggest you can make a chocolate out of coconut oil. If you melt it down a little bit, mix it with stevia and cocoa powder, and then put it in the fridge, it is chocolate. It's like a sugar-free chocolate that's really high in fat and has 2 or 3 grams of carbs. So that would be another suggestion as well.
That kind of sounds like Rosemary's specialty.
Yeah,
and I see her that she just joined us.
Hey, Rosemary. She makes a magic hard shell out of those things. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to another of what will hopefully become a more frequent and regular episode of Muscles by Brussels Radio. Feel free to reach out to us in the meantime on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at VeganProteins and at Muscles by Brussels. In the meantime, my name is Danny.
And I'm Giacomo.
And we will talk to you soon.
Stand in the